Spoiler warning. The following discussion will contain spoilers. We recommend checking out the movie first, then coming back to hang with us. But if you don't care about that, glad to have you here. All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of The Real Review. My name's Kevin.
And I'm John.
And we are your Real Movie Guys. It's February, so that means all this month we'll be celebrating the real season of love. The real season of love is a celebration of romantic comedies and Valentine's Day must-watches. We're taking one last detour, I promise you, one last detour down the lane. We're going to be taking a look at the remake to one of our favorite horror movies, I think, on the channel, My Bloody Valentine 2009, or My Bloody Valentine 3D, if you want to call it that. Tom returns to his hometown on the 10th anniversary of the Valentine's Day night massacre that claimed the lives of 22 people. Instead of a homecoming, Tom finds himself suspected of committing the murders, and it seems like his old flame is the only one that believes he's innocent. John, I don't think it's a secret we really liked the last movie. We both thoroughly enjoyed it, more than I think we expected to, by any means.
Yeah, no secret.
Then we got to this movie. I'm not happy at all with what we got here. I'm sorry. It's one of those things where it's going to harken back to one of our most popular reviews at times, too, where we talked about Piranha 3D. And 3D was a weird time for horror. We got a lot of 3D movies that didn't need to be in 3D. And God knows My Bloody Valentine did not need to be in 3D. I don't think it's just that hurts this movie. We're going to talk about that. But this movie is just not good from head to toe. This is just not a good telling of that story that we got.
The CGI for this movie is so bad.
Yeah, well, we're going to get into the negatives. We got a lot of negatives to talk about. Before we do that, before we just go into the laundry list of issues we have, there's a couple things I think that were positive, and I want to see if you agree. I think some of the kills were actually pretty decent. We'll talk about that more later. But overall, I think there were some decent kills in this movie, especially for being a more modern horror movie. I think we got some decent stuff out of this. Nothing too crazy, but there's a couple that stood out to me, I think, overall. I also talked about Scooby-Doo for adults, and I think this movie does that. It continues to do that, right? The mystery is one of the stronger aspects, if you even want to call it that, in this movie. I don't think the mystery was overtly bad. They kind of heavily implied towards one side.
Harry Warden, right? He attacked you.
Yeah.
Besides the fact that he's been dead for 10 years, how comes no one else saw him?
I don't know, Sheriff, but I was there. I saw him.
You know, this town's in a frenzy because of you. I'm gonna put an end to that right now.
But I think overall, I think the mystery still kind of works. I think also the mind setting, they actually filmed in a closed mind again for this movie, so they actually did keep the true mind aesthetic.
You dead motherfucker!
Arguably, the best part of this movie is the mine scene. Would you agree with that? Just being in the mine when they're actually running from, the miner at that point. That was probably the most powerful scene. And it continues to be the strongest part that I truly do love about this series. The miner, he still looks intimidating. It's odd because they didn't change up his look at all. Usually when you get like a remake of a horror icon, we saw it a little bit with like Jason. They get like a more modernized look. Miner didn't change at all. I literally think he has the same costume he had from the original. He didn't need it, right? He didn't need a more modernization look. He looks intimidating enough as he is. The big thing, which it's kind of weird we're going to talk about this now, is I do like the ending of this film. If you go back to our previous review, we had a conception of what was going to happen, right? At least I did. TJ's not in this movie. TJ's now Tom. Everyone's going to think it's Tom, but it's actually going to be Axel the whole time. Axel's a cop in this movie, so it's a little bit different too. You have a little different change. I thought we were going to get the same thing, and we didn't at all. And I actually thought that was one of the stronger points of the movie, where they're confronting, they're having the big confrontation scene towards the end of the film, trying to determine, who's the killer, who is it, and they look at Tom, and Tom's like, oh my God, it's the miner. He's here, and they look behind him, and they see the miner, and then you realize none of the other characters can see the miner.
There he is. He's right there. Shoot him. What are you doing? Shoot him. He's right there. Shoot him. He's right there.
There's nobody else here.
He's right there. Shoot him. Sarah, you gotta shoot him. Shoot him now. Shoot him. Sarah, he's right there. Shoot him. He's right there. Shoot him now.
Right? And he keeps walking towards them. He's like, we don't see anybody. He's like, he's right there. You don't see him. Doing his bad acting, which we'll talk about too. He keeps walking towards him, and then he does this really cliche, ugly fade into his body. And you realize it was Tom. Tom was the miner the whole time. And I like that twist. I like how he was like subconsciously, I don't know, maybe I do and I don't like it at the same time, because the more I think about it, the more it bothers me too, where it's never really clear what happened. Is he just so mentally unstable that he couldn't realize he was the killer? Was he possessed? Because then Kerr Smith, who plays Axel, he makes like a weird comment. He's like, no, you're Harry. Harry was here the whole time. And then he looks at him, Jensen Ackles, who plays Tom. He looks at him and goes, that's right. I'm here.
No. He's here. Aren't you, Harry? You living inside, Tom?
Oh, I'm right here.
Missing this like weird comment. I'm like, okay, that's kind of weird. What are you trying to go with? I don't know. Pick a side. What are you trying? Are you possessed? Are you just mentally unstable? Whatever the case is, I guess the reveal was cool overall, though. I'll give them credit for that. At least they played with my expectations, and they made that scene memorable. And the last thing I'll give it is they do return to some of those cool visuals I really do appreciate from the first film. Especially the mine scene. They pay tribute to my favorite scene, is when he's smashing the lights with the pickaxe. But they add a unique layer. Once it's revealed that Tom is the miner, it's just Tom walking towards them. He smashes the light with the pickaxe. Every time he does that, it flashes to him in the miner suit. With the lights flashing, I'm like, that's really cool. That's a really cool choice there for that reveal. Like he's inside him, and there's still that same character. Again, not sure if it's a possession, if it's a mental instability, whatever the case is. But again, overall, just really, really cool.
It's one of the few choices that they made that was good.
Going into John's point there, let's talk about some negatives. Now, John, what bothered you? Let's start with something that you didn't like, because there's a lot of things this movie did wrong, and I want you to really kick this one off.
Well, here, let's start with the big fish in the room.
All right.
The terrible, terrible acting.
It's interesting.
Making it stupid. And even, like, the fact that the director wrote himself into this movie.
Oh, yeah.
For his scene of making love with the one lady.
Did you know that St. Valentine was a patron saint of love? Yeah, the whole thing started in Rome in like the year 500 or something. They would have this lottery
for her to be naked for like 10 minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
But he just wrote himself into a scene like that.
I know Patrick Lussier's done this before. He likes to give himself extended like sex scenes in movies. I don't know what that's about. Yes, he does write himself into a sex scene with a young woman. It's very uncomfortable. You've unpacked a lot of things here, so we'll tackle that one first. I'm all for nudity in a horror movie. It's part of the culture. It's part of the way it's supposed to be. That being said, it was a really uncomfortable like XXX sex scene in the movie, but not even that. I can get over that part of it. Like that's not such a huge deal. The fact that he has the girl he's with, she's running around naked for almost 5 minutes of the film, just seemingly to run around naked for no reason.
Put some clothes on before some kid sees you.
Give a shit about the clothes!
The fact that he puts on all of it after they have sex, puts on his clothes to go get into his truck.
Right.
For some odd reason.
She couldn't.
He's putting on his clothes, and she doesn't put on any clothes. She just runs out the door.
Naked.
Yeah.
Chasing after him. And then we have a whole chase scene of the miner going after her.
Leave me alone!
It was so unnecessary. And again, not a prude by any means. I like myself some nudity. I don't, it doesn't bother me. It's when it's just so blatant and just unnecessary to the point where it becomes uncomfortable. And nudity, you can argue, can be just uncomfortable in general, but this is really uncomfortable just for no reason. Like, I can't, why are you naked? There's no reason for you to be naked right now.
The fact that this director keeps doing that makes me think so. He's
got some issues. I want to touch on what you just spoke about too, is the acting. It's funny because we watched the original one where they're not known actors by any means. They're just a bunch of Canadian young adults. They scraped together and got into a movie. We get some actors that have a little bit of weight to them. We have Kerr Smith, who's famous. He was in Final Destination. People may know him. He was in Dawson's Creek, was his big push. So he's a seasoned actor. He can actually act a little bit.
Have you seen Tom?
No, not since yesterday.
Well, we lost track of him this morning, and Ben's missing.
I don't know where he is.
All right, look, this isn't a game, Sarah. People are dead, and Tom is the only one without an alibi.
Tom said somebody else was up.
Jesus!
Jensen Ackles, who, ironically, which is a little fun tidbit here, Jensen Ackles is from Supernatural, one of the famous CW shows that just ended. I actually really like Supernatural. I think it's a really good show, and he does a really good job on that show as well. The same year, 2009, his brother in the show also came out with the show. Jared Padalecki came out with the Friday the 13th remake, which we touched on this channel. We really liked. It had potential, I thought. It was something that, it rebooted the series in a fresh way, and it was interesting to see where it goes. Jensen over here, he didn't have such a good time. I think he picked the dud, and unfortunately, I feel like he was just trying to be Dean from Supernatural. Now, John, I know you're not familiar with that, but Dean's just this, tough guy who talks like this all the time, and I gotta do what I gotta do, man, and that's how I am.
There was someone else down there.
Yeah, Harry. But how? Why?
I don't know, Ben. Maybe to finish what he started 10 years ago.
If I were you, Tom, I'd get the hell out of town.
No, I'm not running this time. I'm gonna find him.
If you don't find him, I'm betting he finds you.
Or you.
I think he was just coasting on that, or the director maybe just was coasting on people knowing who he was from that show to try and make it popular. Because God, does he fall flat. Everything he says at times.
To get home to my son.
Don't you trust me?
Take me home.
Damn it! Sarah, I need you to understand. Yeah, I need somebody to understand.
Tom, you're starting to scare me.
You're the only one that I can trust. Okay, you gotta go with me on this.
I have a husband and a son. Please just take me home.
Axel wants you to think that it's me, but it's not, okay? I don't think you know what he's capable of. I'm not gonna let you take that chance, okay? I'm not gonna let you do that again. Fuck!
I couldn't buy it, no matter what. And everyone was just so unlikable. I think the problem really just is everyone's soulless to their core. Even the love triangle was kind of disgusting more in this movie. You have Sarah, who married Axel because Tom left. It's a little, again, different from the original.
Boy, Axel, you were always jealous of me and Sarah.
You mean my wife, Sarah? Who lives in my house? Who is mother to my son? Who I share a bed with and have sex with?
Axel,
That's Sarah!
Enough!
We find out the reason Tom left is because he was in a mental facility, which, good for him, I guess. So he's back in town. And they have this whole plot where he wants to sell the mine. The owner of the mine died, and he's the son. He's the heir to the mine, and he wants to sell it. Why does he want to sell it? In horror movies, we didn't touch on this in the first one. There's logic issues in that movie, for sure. There's a lot of logic issues. One of my favorite logic issues from the first film is when they're climbing up the ladder and a body falls, and they're like, oh, we got to go right back down. Just keep going up. You're almost out of the mine. Why are you going back down? What the hell's wrong with you? But you can forgive it. They're scared. They don't know what to do, so they figure something out. This movie is like, I got to sell the mine.
You sell those mines, you'll regret the rest of your life, too.
I didn't come here to talk to you about that.
Well, why? He never says. And then suddenly out of nowhere, oh, I'm not going to sell the mine anymore.
So, why are you really back in town?
You know why?
No. I don't know why someone would miss their own father's funeral, but show up to sell off his only asset.
Well, I'm not selling the mine. In fact, I've decided to stay.
Why? What the hell? The plot doesn't make any sense. And I feel like by trying to change some of the backstory, the best way to really like exemplify this change to me is the beginning of the movie, where we get the whole like newspaper article segment where they're running all these newspaper articles and they're overcomplicating the whole plot of this movie. Why did they need to make it so complicated? The original was just simple. It worked. It was easy to understand. You knew what happened. And this one, Harry didn't eat anybody. He just killed everyone to conserve air. Okay, that's not as terrifying if you ask me. And then you open with the whole Harry. That was another change I didn't like either. We got to see more of Harry. They had this weird opening scene with him, and they're all 30-year-olds playing teenagers, which is hilarious to see.
Sure? Yay, because you guys look so cute together. Okay, say over the pants hand job. Yay.
I got a good chuckle out of that too. He goes after all these kids, he starts killing them, and then they cut forward and do a time jump. Why did we need that whole scene? We didn't need that whole explanation. The original, we really didn't get to see Harry at all in the original. We got a couple like tidbits of what he was doing here and there, but we never saw the Harry character. It was always like that shadow looming over everyone. And this movie just ruins that, in my opinion.
Real question you want to ask yourself, Kev.
Mm-hmm.
Why did they make this movie?
Well, money is, of course, the main reason. I guess they thought they could capitalize on a dead franchise, which again, Hollywood is as Hollywood does.
Also, the weird thing though to me is now the first one, if I can remember, didn't do as hot and not as many people know about it, right?
Right.
But then they make this movie, and this one's terrible. So not only did they kill the franchise,
Mm-hmm.
but they also killed this character.
They did, and
as we have never seen him again since.
This is something I wanted to talk about with you too. So, does the miner character work outside of the mine as a killer?
Yes.
Do you think that's... I don't think he does after watching this movie. I think there's the argument made. You can see Jason going around killing people. You can see Ghostface, Michael Myers. You can see all these iconic slasher characters out of their element into the real world, doing what they got to do. The miner, I think this movie in some way, again, it could just be the director, it could be the direction they went in. I don't think he works outside the mine. One of my scenes that I feel like proves this is the store scene where he's chasing after Sarah and the other girl that Kerr Smith is knocking up, which was a stupid subplot too, which I'm not even going to go into.
I didn't get you anything.
You don't need to. You already have. I'm pregnant.
He's chasing after them into this grocery store, and I'm like, this looks so stupid. It just really hit me. Like, the minor character did not work in a grocery store chasing after people. He just doesn't work out of that element. I think in the mine, this haunted mine, it works. That's where his character needs to stay. He can travel out of it a little bit and do what he's got to do. But when he's not in the mine in this movie, it's really just odd and just doesn't work. I really don't think it works. And I can see maybe, I think if you kept the stories in the mine, maybe having stories revolving around going to investigate what happened there and stuff like that, try to keep it centralized in that area, I can see this character working. But as a character who can go on like adventures and slasher tromping character, I don't think it works.
See, I disagree.
Yeah.
I think it could work. I think that obviously I feel like grocery stores is like a terrible place to do it. A grocery store is not really spooky. Like, come on. But like he works. I guess maybe what I'm really trying to get. He works best in the mine. In the dark. In the dark, lurking in the dark in the mine though, with those narrow hallways, those low ceilings. Again, he's not a big guy
Jensen Ackles is not a big guy either, so they kind of kept that motif. It just really, when he's not in the mine to me, it really stands out, and he loses a lot of that scare factor that the character has. The ending also leaves another thing I didn't like, so I did admire the twist a little bit. I gave them some points for that. Unfortunately, the ending leaves zero impact, in my opinion. At the end, the mine collapses. There's this big 3D explosion, which we're going to talk about 3D in a little bit. There's a big 3D explosion. Whoa, it's at my face. And the mine collapses. They have rescuers go in to save everyone, and they find Tom laying in the ground. The guy's like, I'm going to help you. Tom kills that guy, and he sneaks out of the mine wearing his firefighter, his clothing. And he makes this very stupid decision that I can't defend and I don't like. As he's leaving the mine, he looks at the camera and takes the mask off. There's tons of people around. They're still there. Like, he's not out of danger yet. He's a killer. He's a murderer. He's revealing himself. People know who he is. It makes no sense. Like, I know Jensen Ackles. I know they're using you to sell the movie. That was the whole premise of this. They're going to use you. Why are you revealing your face in front of other people? It's such a weird logic issue that, like, we have to show his face one more time for the ladies at home. They need to see it. Stupid. I'm sorry. That was just a really stupid decision.
As if they stayed for this long.
Even if they would have had a sequel, which I guess they'll never will, thank God, in some regard. I think if you're going to do anything, I don't think a remake was the way to go with this. Maybe some kind of pseudo-sequel to the original might have been more interesting. You could have just had more fun with it. Bad decisions all around on this movie. So we're going to talk about some of our favorite kills in this movie, but in honor of that, one more time, we're going to bring back the Real Kill Award. Real Kill Award is an award given to the kills that we think are the best in the film and most deserve it. John, kick this one off for me. What kill in this film do you think deserves the Real Kill Award?
Oh, my favorite kill of this movie was Celine, the motel manager, when she walks into the room. She gets an uppercut with the axe to the ceiling. I thought that was awesome.
So let's talk about the elephant in the room. Celine's a short person. Is it cruel? Yeah, a little bit. We're laughing at it. I'm sorry. We laughed at it. It's a gruesome kill. I gotta go with you on that. He literally just chucks the pickaxe into her jaw, picks her up off the floor, slams her into the ceiling with electricity raining down into the light. It's over the top. It's outrageous. I think it works. I can understand where you're coming from for that one. For my real kill, I'm going to nominate Burke, who's killed with a pickaxe through the jaw, and then his jaw is ripped right off. This scene was probably one of the best kills, I think, in the movie, where we got to see some practical effect, which is very slight in this movie, and we're going to talk about that too. We get to see Burke, who the miner's, lurking outside. He's the retired police chief. He's outside looking for the miner, and the miner turns up behind him. He takes the pickaxe, shoves it into his jaw. He rips his jaw clean off. No. This was a good marriage, right? There is some CG used in this scene. It's slight. It's not as much as you would think. I did look at a little behind the scenes for this just to clarify that, because I wanted to make sure that, because you can, if it's as good as I say it is, then good on them. That's really good CGI, because it looks pretty good to me in the movie. I actually thought it was one of the better scenes, and just to see the pickaxe used in that manner where he rips off his jaw, gotta give him props, man. That stays with you.
Well, yeah, that's what I was gonna ask you. I didn't really know exactly if they used CG or if they didn't. But I know I saw some things where the guy that was making like the prosthetics, he did use a real head and had the whole thing done.
Right.
but I don't remember. I didn't really remember if they used CG exactly.
That's good though. So in my opinion, if you look at something and can't tell if it's CG or not, that's good CG, right? We can agree there. I think if you're not sure, you did a damn good job, right? If it's convincing you that much. The kills, other than that, I feel like are very lackluster. Even the ones that have potential. There's one where Brandy, she's this girl in the tunnel. She gets a shovel shoved into her jaw against a pole. A very cool scene, a very cool, gruesome way to kill somebody, but her head's CG, and it looks terrible. And they add that whole 3D effect, and I don't like it. It just ruins a potentially memorable kill.
Well, even when you start off the movie, they're in the hospital and all those people are dead, but then there's the mannequin-looking dude who's lying
that
down.
ruined it. I'm like, is that a mannequin? I actually said it out loud when we were watching the movie.
The fact that they start this movie out like that, just made me go like,
but you know what's
gonna happen next?
It's a cool scene too. I mean, it's a cool idea for a scene. I mean, just to see Harry rip everybody apart, and there's this like apocalyptic look going in the hub. Like, oh my god, is this what we're dealing? It set a tone that I was excited for a little bit at first, because I'm like, all right, is this what we're getting into? Got this monster ass guy just ripping people apart, going crazy. You don't get that at all through the rest of the movie. Another kill I thought I actually liked. It was more of a subtle one, but I thought it was kind of cool. The character Ben, the miner breaks into his house and he puts the pickaxe on the floor, and then he shoves Ben's head into the pickaxe.
Shit.
He actually like curb stomps him into the pickaxe. Like, that's pretty brutal. Okay, that's kind of cool. Again, they have these clever ideas. What holds it back, you may ask? Digital effects. There's a lot of digital effects. And the reason there's so many digital effects is because, whoa, it's coming at you 3D is in this movie.
Well, you think I was Harry Warden or something? Hey, Michael, check this out.
This is the example of those movies you do not want to see, where 3D was the only hook they had going on, and it's done poorly every single time, in my opinion.
You're in the wrong bar, kid.
It's literally, like I just said, whoa, it's coming at you, and it's terrible, and I hate it. I hate every second of it. It's so distracting. It's so jaunting. Even if you had a good 3D television, I think, to watch this movie, when at it still looks terrible no matter what. It just is unnecessary, and in my opinion, I think it ruined a series of horror movies, especially in that 2000 year, like that 2009 2010 area. I think it really hurt the horror genre for a while, and in my opinion hurt a potentially good legacy character for the miner for My Bloody Valentine. But I think we're at that point though, we're going to give our final scores. I'm going to give My Bloody Valentine a D-. It
is you.
It's terrible. It has some things that stand out to where I can enjoy it to a degree, but you can't ignore it's entirely disappointing. This movie had a lot to live up to, at least in my opinion, as far as the previous film, which I would argue is one of my favorite, classic horror films of all time. This is nowhere near it. The acting's hollow. The story changes are terrible and hollow. We didn't even go into some of the details with the story just because I don't even want to really talk about it that much. It just really did nothing for me. The things I liked, some of the kills I thought were interesting. The twist ending, decent job. I think there was potential with that, even though it was undercut by a weird, gotta show the actor's face end scene. It just didn't do it for me. John, where do you stand with this film?
I'm gonna give this movie an F.
My God. What did you just say to me?
Sarah, Settle.
I thought it failed. Thought it was boring. Let's be real, if this movie didn't have some of those good kills, the rest of this movie is just bad and boring. You don't care about any characters. You don't care about really anything that's going on in this movie. In a horror movie, you're looking for great kills. This one had very few, and the CG overtook everything.
Yeah, and like I said, I have to give them some props. I was close to an F. I'm not going to lie to you. But I do admire the twist ending, subverting expectation. I thought some of the effects were pretty decent. Not enough to save the movie by any means. This comes with a stay away from me for sure. This movie, it's a time capsule of what we hate about the 3D film era. And I'm glad we moved away from that. And this is a prime reason of why we should have and why we did.
100% agree.
John, where can the people find us at home?
You can find us over on YouTube. The Real Movie Guys on YouTube. Go over, like our channel, subscribe if you haven't. You can also watch this and rewatch some of our old movies that we did in October. Horror movies are a real terror month.
Yeah, I want you guys to go back. Do me a favor. Go back and watch our Friday the 13th review and then this My Bloody Valentine review. Jensen Ackles, Jared Padalecki, the Supernatural Brothers. Who won, in your opinion? Let us know. Let us know in the comments who you think had the better movie. Personally, Friday the 13th, hands down, was a better remake. Set something decent for the future. This movie, I don't know what the hell they were doing.
You can also find us over on Twitter. You can interact with us over there. Let us know your opinion on this movie or other movies that maybe you found interesting. Horror movies, love stories, whatever you want to interact with us. You can also find us over on Instagram. Go over there. Hit us up on Instagram. We'll try and get back to you over there too. Let us know your favorites over there too. You can listen to us on many podcasting platforms such as...
Yes, for your listening pleasure, we are also available in podcast form at iTunes, Spotify, Anchor, Google Podcast, Overcast, Breaker, Radio Public, and Pocket Casts. Be sure to give us a listen at any of those fine places. If you already are right now, hey, greatly appreciate it. Just search out Real Movie Guys. We should pop right up. Thank you again all so much for joining us for this episode of The Real Review. My name's Kevin. That guy over there, he's John. We are your Real Movie Guys. Real guys, real movies, real thoughts. Don't forget, love is in the air as the real season of love continues. We'll scare you next time.